go. So, basically what you have to begin with is ships have got various manoeuvres they can do, which are on their own particular dials. And obviously all those correspond to one of those things on there, basically. So, TIE fighters he's quite manoeuvrable. He's also quite fast as well. So he can go that far at the most. So if you look at that, he can go that far, which is quite fast, considering that the X-Wing, at the most, can only go that far. Which means you can outdistance him in certain cases. He's also more manoeuvrable, because he can also go... He can do that, and then when he gets to the end, he can turn around. So it's useful of outmanoeuvring people. The X-Wing can do that, but I say X-Wing, yeah, he can also do it as well. So I've just lied to you there, by the way. But what you tend to find is the Imperial ships, pretty much all of them, tend to be quite manoeuvrable at slow speeds.
Yeah.
And these tend to be more manoeuvrable at higher speeds.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, you've got all these manoeuvres, and they all do various things. You can go around corners, you can go just small distances or long distances. Basically, these are the sort of distances you go. Good thing to remember is that speed is the same size as the length of a ship.
Yeah. So
to give you an idea of where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you can't pre-measure with any of these. So you can have a rough idea of where you end up. And you'll probably end up banging into things, banging into ships, all sorts of things. You'll end up going bang like that or anything like that, which has consequences. So what you do is at the beginning of each turn, you secretly decide what you're going to do with the dial, where you're going to go. And you'll notice that there's different colours on the dial. So if you've got a green manoeuvre, that's pretty cool. A white manoeuvre is pretty much the same as a green manoeuvre. But it has certain outcomes depending on what manoeuvre you've done previously. You'll also see red ones.
Yeah.
So that means it's a stressful manoeuvre. That means is that you've got yourself out of a tight spot, but at the same time it will have consequences later on down the line. So basically what you do, what that happens, you put like a little stress token there, and that means the next turn you can't do certain things unless you do one of the green manoeuvres. So basically the green is the opposite of a red.
Okay.
So that's in the moving phase. So you decide what you're going to do, and obviously if you've done a red manoeuvre, you won't be able to do another one in the next turn. So again, you're stopped from doing that. But otherwise, do whatever manoeuvre you want, keep it secret. Then in the order of the pilot skill, which is the number you'll see in orange on there, so whichever is lowest first, they have to move first. That's just to represent the other pilots, the better pilots, kind of seeing what they're going to do or predicting what they're going to do, really. So they get to move, and then the other guys, then it goes up and up, and to the next pilot skill, and blah, 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 and so on. If you've got a tie, it's whoever's got the initiative. Imperials have the initiative. So if there's a tie of pilot skill, Imperials will have to move first. But they'll also get to shoot first in the same case when it comes around to shooting. So there you go. And then when it does come to your end of moving thing, once you've done all your manoeuvres, you then get to do an action. Now the actions you can do are in green, just there up the side. So if you look at the TIE fighter, he can evade, which means he gets to knock off a hit that lands on him, but only one hit. So that's the evade. Mm-hmm. There you go. Then you've got a barrel roll. And this is the thing that the TIE fighter has that the X-Wing doesn't, which makes it a bit more manoeuvrable. What it can do there is go like that. And it can also go, you can put it there, and it could go there, or you could put it there, or it could go there, or any combination. Okay. As long as the entirety of that doesn't overlap there. So basically that can get you out of a few tight corners. So you've got that, or you can focus. Now pretty much every ship can focus. And essentially what that means is when you want to hit, when you use the red dice, if you end up rolling any of these It doesn't matter how many you roll, they will get turned into a damage dice instead.
Okay.
When you're defending, it will get turned into one of those.
Okay.
Obviously, you can only use once this is used up for that roll, then it's gone.
Yeah.
And the X-wing has got focus, but it also has target lock, which means that you pick another ship that's within that range, and it can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in your arc, which is shown on the front in the red or the green for them. So anywhere there, you put a red token on that and a blue token on that, and that means when you get to roll to hit, you get to reroll the dice, as many or as few as you like. Obviously, again, once that's gone, it's gone. But the good thing about that is, if you don't use it, it stays. Whereas all the other tokens, apart from stress one, get removed at the end of the turn.
Okay.
So you can keep that on as long as you haven't used it. Basically.
Can you only have one of those?
Yeah, each ship can only maintain one target lock. There's some abilities that allow you to maintain more than one.
Okay.
By and large, everyone can only do one. There's some, you can actually buy missiles for ships and stuff. In order to fire a missile, you have to have a target lock on someone because you zero it in. So yeah, you see, it doesn't have many actions, but it's tougher. So, and the way that's worked out is you've got these are the stats for you. So the number in red is how many dice you roll when you're firing at someone. Those ones. And you've got various, so that's basically damage. That, as we've mentioned, you can turn that into a damage. Blank one does nothing, and that one is a critical hit, which we won't look at in the first kind of run through. It basically, they'll count that as the same as the damage. Very similar for that, except you get those ones. If you roll that, you've knocked off a hit that's landed on you, and again, you can turn that into a hit if you've an evade if you've got the focus token on you.
Yeah.
So that's some dice you roll. So you'll notice that the X-wing's got more, but it's kind of switched around when it comes to the next one, because that's how many dice you roll when once you've been shot. How many dice you roll to try and dodge it? Obviously, X-wing's a bit slower. That one gets more. There we go. The one in yellow is how many hits you can take before you're dead. So again, they've got the same amount. It's it's the same shit that size. The important thing is though, the next one, the blue one, is how many shields you have. That's how many hits you take on your shields before you even take any damage.
So this doesn't have a shield?
It doesn't have anything, because they're churned out by the millions.
Yeah.
Whereas the X-wing has 2 shields, so it can survive a bit longer, so it's almost twice as tough.
Yeah.
But not as agile. So that's how that's worked. And when it comes down to the shooting phase, it's the opposite way round to the movement phase in terms of who goes first.
Okay.
So it's the higher the pilot skill, shoots first before anyone else does. And you don't even swap round. It's you could have 10 of them and a few of them, and they would all go first before the TIE fighters do. It doesn't matter who's on which side. It's all about pilot skill when it comes down to shooting. So generally, that's how it works really. What happens if you end up banging into someone? Say your token you does that, and you would end up like that.
Yeah.
You go by the shortest distance back. So you're just touching.
Yeah.
What that means is you can't do an action, and you also can't shoot the person that you've landed on. But you can shoot anyone else you can see. Things don't block line of sight or anything.
Okay.
As long as you've got an angle to it, you can shoot it because it represents them being there or whatever. But yeah, you can't do an action and you can't shoot that person. And that's what happens if you bang into each other, basically.
So there's not any kind of damage?
No, you don't take any damage. There's a few ships that have upgrades that can do damage, that can specifically try and ram you. It also happens if you've got 2 of the same and one ends up landing on a thing, again, you have to push him back. But again, you can't do any actions, but obviously you can shoot wherever you want, as long as you don't bang into someone else as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, really.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds easy, but it's all about the manoeuvres.
Yeah.
And where that gets you, and trying to get out of people's fire arcs and into people's fire arcs and stuff like that, really. So there you go. That's basically how it works.